Harry Sison cannot stop embarrassing himself.
I mean, you were completely wrong. Not only did Biden not stay in the race, but he certainly won't be president again. So do you accept you were completely wrong?
Because this clip of Harry Sison being intellectually demolished on Piers Morgan by Tyrus is something I could watch all day.
When different people all use the same word, it's a talking point.
But who exactly is this Democrat TikTok star that seemed to have come out of nowhere, and is there something more sinister that we're missing?
I think Harry Sison is one of those. I think the FEC records show that he's a paid shill.
Watch this clip from before the election and you realize why it's such a bad look for Harry Sison in light of recent events.
Harry, I want to start by playing a little clip of you last time you appeared on my show. Who do you think the two nominees will be in the end, and who will win?
Yeah, it's going to be Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, and then Joe Biden's going to win. And Pierce, I'd love to chat with you after the election.
You've made a few dollars, Harry, so why don't we have a little wager? $10,000 to a charity of your choice. I say Biden can't possibly win. You think he can?
I personally don't bet on politics. I'm happy to have another bet to do something with charity. We can do something, absolutely no problem.
But you wouldn't put your money where your mouth is on Biden then?
I don't bet on politics.
Well, I saved you $10,000 there, Harry, with your refusal to accept the bet, obviously. Welcome back to Uncensored. I mean, you were completely wrong. Not only did Biden not stay in the race, but he certainly won't be president again. So do you accept you were completely wrong?
Yeah, I think I was going based off of publicly available information. All of the information available was that Joe Biden was staying in. He consistently told reporters he was staying in. He said, I'm the guy. And then he huddled with advisors in Delaware, saw the data, said it wasn't looking good, and made the honorable decision to bow out.
Okay, first off, I can't believe people like Harry still have a platform, because I'd never show my face again if it was so disastrously wrong every single time. Because this past week, Joe Biden came out of nowhere announcing a last-stage cancer diagnosis that had probably been metastasizing for years unnoticed, and by the way, just want to say I am very sorry to hear that for him. However, it was obvious to most people that even 2 years ago that there was massive cover-up of Joe Biden's poor health and senility, but we keep learning new details for just how bad it really was, because how on earth did the former president pass his annual health exam with flying colors while the rest of America kept screaming to pay attention for the diminishing president before your eyes? By the way, we're speaking the hard truth that you won't find on the mainstream media, so please subscribe to Millionaire Mentor to become part of the conversation. Now, I think every time Harry Sison opens his mouth, he doesn't let you forget that he's either simply a Democrat plant on social media or the most childish out-of-touch 21-year-old you've ever met. What else do you think of him when he said Biden was fit for another 4 years with everything that we've seen now?
Only the day before he quit, he was absolutely gung-ho. I'm going to be running. I'm going to be president. I'm going to win 4 more years, blah, 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 blah. Even in the speech last night, he said he thinks he still has it in him to do another term of office. But that's not what happened. What happened was the Democrat grandees, Barack Obama, the Clintons, Chuck Schumer, Hollywood stars like George Clooney penning op-ed pieces in newspapers and so on, they all collaborated with the donors, as Tyrus said, who yanked the money, to torch him. He was torched by his own side. That's what happened, isn't it?
I mean, I think it's a combination of things. I think that there was obviously concern among party elites, you might call them. I don't know if that's the word.
But there was a concern. There was a poll came out on Sunday morning saying he was 7 points down in Michigan.
Right.
As Frank Luntz said, one of the 3 crucial swing states. And at that point, bang, the rope was pulled, right?
But it's also it was also his decision. He could have stayed in the race and said, like, I'm the nominee. I got the votes. I won the primary. I'm going to get the delegates. I'm going to be the nominee. But he looked at the data and made the honorable decision, said, no, I'm not going to.
But is he that honorable to do it now? I mean,
It sounds great, but let's be honest. Nancy Pelosi walked in and said, we can do it.
The easy way or the hard way?
The hard way was Article 25.
You know what?
That's what happens when you don't understand the strings attached to every political campaign. The donors and super PAC money is what moves the needle, and most major donors had paused or withheld their money unless a new candidate was announced for the Democrats. Most notably people like Abigail Disney, heiress to the Disney fortune, who said the Dems wouldn't get a single dime from her unless they replaced Joe. Then it was philanthropist Gideon Stein, who halted over $3 million of donation. Netflix co-founder Reed Hastings also stopped the money supply despite having donated a staggering $20 million to the Democrats in the past. So no, there's literally nobody that bought this hogwash of passing the torch by Joe Biden, and there's even fewer today. Even Bernie Sanders, when he was recently interviewed by Andrew Schultz, was forced to admit the Democrats are no longer democratic because they haven't had a fair and open primary since 2008. That's America's political reality, and perhaps it's a matter of time before that cold reality hits Harry in the face, unless, of course, he has deliberately shut himself off to it.
I think at this point, we're arguing about the wrong thing. Whether he's fit to serve or not fit to serve, history was made in the sense that the donors basically said no more money. Right. And they don't do that because they think, oh, the polling shows you're down this month. So the ugliness of this is that Joe Biden's legacy is going to be affected because of what happened. The policies and stuff that we're running historically didn't ever fit Joe, which people raise their eyebrows to. And then you're seeing all this cover up of how sharp he was. And that's a interesting word because it's used a lot. And I always find when different people all use the same word, it's a talking point. And that's the problem. We need to get away from talking points. I'm glad that he stepped down because I took no joy in criticizing speeches from somebody who was doing the best they could. And he probably has moments where he's brilliant, but that's the ugliness of aging that one day everything's going great. Yeah. And it's happened to us all. Like one day, like wrestling, I'm throwing guys around, and one day I'm a step slow. It happens. And you'll have good days and you have bad days. And that's great in any other profession but being the president of the United States and basically the policeman of the world.
Exactly. And that's even truer for a world that seems to be breaking down all around us with multiple wars and crises. And the fact is that this Democratic establishment has become complacent and comfortable with presidential powers leaking around his office to his advisors and bureaucrats. I mean, last week, the Department of Defense released a pretty damning audio recording of Joe Biden's interview with Special Counsel Robert Hur before the election, where Biden's mental decline was painfully visible when he seemed to forget major life events on tape, like when his own son passed away. And in an America that has woken up to how dire the situation was, it's incredible that people like Harry are still buying Biden's damage control interviews on places like The View recently, where he said he still believes that he would have beaten Donald Trump. That's just comical at this point. Perhaps that lends weight to when political commentator C.J. Pearson said he believes Harry's just a social media plant by the Democrats to help rally Gen Z audiences.
People don't trust CNN anymore. They don't trust the traditional media. They trust people, and influencers are people. And I think if we can bring them together, educate them so they can educate their audiences, that's how we win.
Facts. Do you think one of those influencer source paid off is Harry Sison?
Definitely. I think Harry Sison is one of those. I think the FEC records show, that he's a paid shill. One of the one of the biggest things that I think exposed him for was after the Biden debate. He said Biden won the debate. No one in their right mind thought Biden won that debate. Biden didn't think he won the debate. Biden didn't even know he was at the debate, actually, much less. So it's incredible to me that he was able to say that with a straight face. But it's Harry Sison. So
even David Pakman, who I just had on, said Biden lost that debate. So that's when you know he's paid off.
Now, we don't know if that's true, but the last 6 months have been an even more damning indictment for the Democrat establishment, with every new detail like this coming out. And that means there's a long way to go before the next election for them to regain the lost trust with a genuinely bottom-up movement in the party that brings forward a new face for the Democrats. But let me know if you see that happening anytime soon, because we've certainly seen no signs of course correction in the months after the election.